everyone. Welcome back to another episode of NEPA Story. I can't explain how so excited to do this episode. I've honestly been dying to do this episode for a while. And I'm so excited to be talking to Miranda Moore, who is Miss Pennsylvania 2023 and is an environmental engineer and graduate student at the University of Pennsylvania, exclusive certificate in social impact strategy, and she hopes to obtain a master's degree in nonprofit leadership from the University of Pennsylvania and become a professionally licensed engineer. Through Take Action and Fashion, her community service initiative, she combines her technical sustainability background and partnerships with influential brands and initiative nonprofits to both raise awareness and provide solutions for the increasing consequences for fashion industry on our people, our planet, and our health. Through this initiative, her goals are to change the way we buy, encouraging secondhand shopping and sustainability more products, where promoting outfit repeating, rental services, and capsule wardrobes, and think, which teaches people about purchasing power and canting change with our dollars. Miranda, thank you so much for taking the time to chat. Your work is absolutely amazing. I'm super honored to have you on a podcast today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for that lovely introduction. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. So I know the last couple of years, even in pageants, you just ran for Miss America and you are currently a Miss of Pennsylvania. And so if people don't know, how did you get into pageants?
So I started competing about 3 years ago now. I'm 25 years old and I started when I was 22. I was in my final year of my undergraduate program at the University of Georgia and I really needed scholarships. So that was how I found the program. One of my really good friends was actually Miss University of Georgia, encouraged me to try for that competition. And it sort of just spiraled from there. I got bitten by the bug. I did my first local and just absolutely loved it. I loved the growth I saw in myself just in one competition, and I knew it was something I wanted to continue to pursue. And my entire family is from Pennsylvania. And so whenever I was done with college down south, I moved back to Pennsylvania to start my career and to really get into engineering. And I knew that being Miss Pennsylvania was a dream of mine. And so I started competing in local competitions here. I held two local titles in Pennsylvania. I was Miss Lancaster County and then Miss Central Pennsylvania. And I won Miss Pennsylvania this year, following my kind of partial term as Miss Central PA. So this was the year that I became Miss Pennsylvania 2023, and I'll be serving through June of 2024.
Ooh, what was your first competition for pageants? Was it Miss Lancaster or did you have another first pageant?
My very first competition, I actually did Miss University of Georgia. So my first competition was down south, and I did not win. I did not become Miss University of Georgia. Actually, a lovely friend of mine from college became Miss UGA and went on to win Miss Georgia. So I think that that also sort of inspired my journey to see her win a state title. It was really, really cool to see her year. And I've had, of course, Megan and Delissa as Miss Pennsylvania's prior to me that I got to know and got to learn from. So I think it is integral when you're competing to learn from the women that came before you. So if I hadn't known someone who did Miss UGA and I hadn't done Miss UGA, I certainly wouldn't be here today or Miss Pennsylvania. So it's crazy to see the journey that the competitions can take you.
Oh, for sure. And recently, you just competed for Miss America. You just got back, and it was basically a whole week's process of interviewing, walking, workouts, that sort of thing that Miss America involves. But how did you kind of prepare for Miss America?
I always said that the best preparation for Miss America was being a good Miss Pennsylvania
Mhm.
because for preparing for Miss Pennsylvania, I really focused on preparing for the phases of competition. I was practicing walking patterns, posing, posture, all that good stuff for the modeling phases of competition. I was really working on my talent, blocking my talent, arranging it. I actually arranged my own talent piece. So creating the track, working on, technicality, musicality, all of that good stuff, going to the gym, prepping for fitness, doing mock interview questions. And when I became Miss Pennsylvania, doing the job became my full-time job. So instead of necessarily having a 9 to 5 outside of this and then doing preparations in addition to that job, I've been preparing for Miss America full time by being Miss Pennsylvania. So I was doing all of those things still the mock interviews, the talent, the posture, the walking, the going to the gym, all of that good stuff on top of actively doing the job of Miss America on a small scale,
Mhm.
small being the entire state of Pennsylvania, right? So I
Yeah.
was traveling thousands of miles. I was doing about 6 to 7 appearances a week, meeting with people, interacting with people, and really doing the job of Miss America as Miss Pennsylvania. So I would say that that was my biggest prep. Of course, there's prep for stage, but what people don't see a lot of times or think of is that you're really prepping for the job by doing the job. And for me,
Mhm.
that was what was most important. And I was able to do over 160 appearances in my first half of my year as Miss Pennsylvania, which is nearly an appearance a day, while also traveling about 20,000 miles by car across the state. So I was really able to maximize the first half of my year to help me prepare for Miss America. And I am, of course, going to continue to travel across the state and do the job as Miss Pennsylvania for the next 5 months. So I'm very fortunate that my year is not up, but kind of just beginning.
Yeah, like that's insane. Like you travel so much. Like if I worked a full-time job and also do that, I'd be like, I'm just losing my mind. How am I supposed to do this at the same exact time? Like, how do you handle it?
Well, I would say so prior to becoming Miss Pennsylvania, when I was Miss Central PA, I was balancing, I was a graduate student, so I was in a graduate program. I was doing Miss Central PA events. I did multiple events a week, and then I had a full-time job. So I had a 40 plus hour job as an environmental engineer where I was creating designs and working on site. And so that was really prepping me for the balancing act. I think, you get up early, you stay up late, you make your 24 hours as maximized as possible. I would joke with people when I was in the car going to work, I was practicing mock interview questions. As soon as work was done, I was going to the gym, working with a personal trainer to maximize the time that I had in the gym. You sort of make your hours more valuable when you don't have as many or when you're trying to balance a lot. And that was sort of the approach I took to Miss Pennsylvania as well, is that I never really had a minute where I wasn't doing something that was either enhancing my experience as Miss PA or that was prepping me for Miss America, whether that was doing those mock interview questions in the car, working on thank you notes when I had downtime between appearances, those kind of things. You just, when you have a minute, you don't necessarily see it as a minute you want to waste. You're wanting to maximize it. But
Yeah.
I also think in all of this, I do absolutely rest. And that's been really important as well because I didn't want to be burnt out my entire year. There's only so much you can do if you're running on low energy. So I make sure that I rest. I use gym as something that's sort of like an outlet, going to the gym, working out. That's something that's been really great for me during my year. So in all of this, in the balancing act, I also always tell people, like, I probably sleep more than people would believe. I probably rest more than people would believe because I always make time for it. I find time for it. And I do think it's important to make sure that you're not burnt out so that people are getting a good and energized and happy and healthy version of you when you're going to appearances. No one wants to meet Miss Pennsylvania and be like, man, she looks tired or man,
Yeah.
she looks burnt out. So I think that's really important too.
Yeah, I honestly feel that so hard right now. Like, with somebody that does so many things on a daily basis, it can be so tiring to the point where you feel so burnt out more than anyone can expect. As
Yeah.
someone who faces burnout probably at least once or twice a week, maybe even more or less, depending on the week goes, but like with having so many things on your plate, it really does take a toll on like your body, your mind, and of course, as a person that struggles with balancing different things, it really does take a toll on different things. Of course, when people actually meet you in person, whether you're doing appearance or just going out with friends or something, you're like, "Oh, you look absolutely miserable. Why are you so tired?" Like that's our questions. They're just like, "How do I make time for these things?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you want the time that you do get with your family and your friends for them to get the version of you that they know and that they love, and not a version of you that's burnt out or that doesn't feel like they have the capacity to, manage relationships. And I'm very grateful to, we have, of course, a business manager who I know you got to talk with.
Mhm.
Sue always prioritizes my time and my health and making sure I have time to spend with friends and family in addition to doing appearances. So I think that's important too, to have a relationship with the people who you work with to ensure that they have your best interests at heart as well. So I'm grateful, very, very grateful for her as well.
Mhm.
She
Yeah,
makes sure.
definitely. And do you have like a favorite moment or memory from your time in Florida for Miss America? Because I know there's probably a bunch that you probably think of throughout the week.
Oh my gosh, I have so many. My favorite memory of the entire week was on Sunday night after finals night. the competition's over, the week's over, and I went and I saw all of my friends and family who had traveled to Orlando for me. And I think that that was my favorite memory just because you're at competition week and you're almost like in your own little bubble. You know, you're with the same people all the time, you're competing, the stress levels are so high. So for the competition to be done and for it to be just me and the people I love and the people who traveled all that way, I was so grateful to the people who traveled to come see me and to come watch. And so to get to have that time with them, that's definitely my favorite memory. It just was, the flood of emotions and everything, getting to see everyone. That was the highlight of my week. But during the week, I have so many fun memories. We were always like ordering pizza, staying up late, talking, dancing in the hallways, messing around. There was a piano and we'd all mess around on the piano and play songs and sing together. And just like there were all these little moments that weren't competition that were really special. That was just me and 50 of my new best friends hanging out in this once in a lifetime opportunity. And those are all the things that I remember. And people say, you go to Miss America and you don't remember the stage time and it's hard to believe it, but that really was such a small part of the experience. And the moments I had with my friends and my family and the women I got to share the experience with were definitely my favorite memories of the week.
Ooh, what a great memory. That would probably be the same exact thing. Like I'm like with having family and friends travel from Pennsylvania or a different states travel to Orlando, Florida, like a heart of Florida. I'd be like, this is literally my dreamland. Like, can I have anything better than this? Like, seriously, nothing's better, right?
Nothing's better. No, and it meant so much to me to have them. As you said, traveling from Pennsylvania to Florida is not a small haul. So to have people travel all that way to support me, it just was meant the world to me. So
Especially with all the snow Pennsylvania has right now,
yes,
like, yeah, I'll take anything I can get to go to Florida right now to just escape from the
oh,
snowy weather.
you'll have to go. It was awesome. The weather in Florida is much different than here.
Oh, for sure. Well, I much prefer living in Florida than here in Pennsylvania with all this snow. I'll be completely honest with you. I probably would prefer living down there with the weather. Like, it's probably much better. But like once you give up your title as Miss Pennsylvania in June, like what are your plans for after giving up your title?
We will see. The world is kind of an oyster, right? I don't want to say my
Mm.
oyster. That sounds too exciting, but it is. There are going to be so many different opportunities made available to me, which I'm really looking forward to. I am potentially going to go back to school. I'm potentially going to go back into the workforce as an engineer. I'm possibly going to do both of those things and get a full-time job and keep going to school part-time. I'm just going to sort of see what's out there. Of course, I'm going to be applying to jobs and to schools and seeing who takes me and what sticks. But I'm fortunate I earned about $20,000 in scholarships, so I can use those toward a graduate program. So I'm definitely planning to go back to school in some capacity. I think it just will be what says yes and what says no, and figuring out from there.
Yeah, like do you plan on doing more pageants after Miss Pennsylvania, or is it kind of like, okay, I ran for Miss Pennsylvania, this is all done, like this is all behind me?
Yeah, if you're asking me today, and today I would say I'm really thrilled with how my journey has gone, and I could definitely see this being sort of the end of the road for me, but I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what opportunities may be made available, and I also know I would love to get into working with young women, potentially starting a local organization. Like I want to be involved for sure in some capacity because this program has transformed my life. So I want to make sure that I help transform other young women's lives as well. So definitely going to stay involved in some way, just not exactly sure what that looks like yet.
That's such a great idea. I definitely stand for that though. I
Thank
stand for that. You
you.
should definitely start it. If you do, I'm your woman to go to, that's for sure.
Yes. Oh
Mm.
my gosh, come be Miss Harrisburg.
Oh yeah, I'd be down for that. Miss Harrisburg or Miss Wilkes-Barre Scranton, whatever it
Exactly.
takes.
Oh my gosh.
But like through your community service initiative, take action in fashion. You combine your technical sustainability background with partnerships with influential brands and initiative nonprofits to both raise awareness of and provide solutions for the increasing consequences for the fashion industry has on our people, our planet, and our health. Like how does take action in fashion increase consequences in the fashion industry?
So, my initiative aims to really educate people on the environmental and social impacts and then provide them with solutions that they need to be part of positive change. And so some of the consequences of the fashion industry, the environmental impacts, there are a tremendous amount of emissions from the creation of clothing. There is runoff into our waterways and into our soil from the dyeing of clothing. And we also fill up a lot of our landfills with textile waste. Over 92 million tons of textile waste enter our landfills every single year. So it's a really environmentally taxing industry. And in terms of social impacts, the garment worker industry, garment workers are really underpaid and they also are in unsafe and unhealthy working conditions. So it's a pretty big impact on garment workers. A very large majority of garment workers are women. So women really see a negative impact from the fashion industry, and we're also the highest consumers of fashion. So it really, in a lot of ways, the fashion industry is a women's issue. It is something that we are really involved in both on the front end and on the back end. We are consuming clothing and then we're also creating this clothing. So I think it's really important for women, especially women our age, to be educated on the impacts so that we're able to make decisions that help reduce those impacts, not only on the environment, but on those people as well. And so I think that that's sort of the target focus of the initiative, is making sure that people are made aware of the consequences. And then, of course, more importantly, I think providing people with the resources they need to be a part of positive change. Once people find out how dangerous the industry is, really their first question is, how can I fix it? What can I do that would be better? So I try to help people get the tools they need to make positive decisions, whether that is giving them access to resources like Rent the Runway and Fashion Pass for a discount so that they can be a part of sustainable fashion for a little bit cheaper, helping people create capsule wardrobes, recognizing the clothing they already have in their closet and how they can wear it more, giving them resources on where to buy secondhand clothing or where to donate clothing they may not need anymore. And I also have a National Day of Advocacy where I sort of combine all these things with my STEM accredited curriculum, which helps teach kids about these impacts. And on April 24th, every single year, I go to the Pennsylvania Capitol and talk with legislators about incentivizing secondhand clothing through tax and educating people across the state of Pennsylvania about how they can be a part of this positive change. So those are all different sort of methods. The initiative has a lot of different layers, talking about the causes as well as the solutions and really focusing on our target demographic. My demographic I work with is largely women ages 18 to 28. So all of the resources and sort of the connections are rooted toward that age demographic, which is also the demographic of Miss America. So as Miss Pennsylvania, I've really been able to work with young women and teach them about these things. And hopefully I've had an impact on the lives of young women and helped them make positive change in their fashion choices and sustainability as well.
Yeah, like with like fashion, I know fashion is such a big thing. Of course, with Miss America, what we wear, of course, what I know, what even if you're not in the Miss America organization, I know fashion is such a big deal, especially girls our age are like, okay, I have to wear this, I have to wear that. It's so important to see, like, okay, how do I feel inspired? Or how do I look? Like, a lot of people feel self-conscious about what they look or what they wear. Of one of me including, I was one of those people. But like, how does take action in fashion try to help us in our planet with sustainability?
Well, I definitely agree with you. And I think that being in the sort of pageant world has been a really cool vessel to talk about how we can be a part of positive change and about how Take Action in Fashion does that. One of the biggest things that I do is I incorporate secondhand pieces, rented pieces into my competition wardrobe, and I talk about it on stage. I've had the opportunity to, on multiple occasions on stage, talk about the fact that I wear secondhand clothing, I rewear outfits. There's this sort of weird stigma about re-wearing outfits and being seen in something multiple times, and I wanna completely eradicate that because that's not being an outfit repeater, it's called wearing your clothing. When you're seen in something twice, that means you're wearing your stuff that you own. I think there's just
Yeah.
this stigma that has been created that is so unnecessary and that makes people feel like they need new stuff all the time, especially with social media, that they cannot be seen in something multiple times. So I think that using the platform I have as Miss Pennsylvania to talk about that and destigmatize it has been really valuable and really cool. And that's something that with Take Action in Fashion, using that platform to be able to talk to people, to be able to create social media content or challenges that encourage people to be a part of sustainable fashion are all different things that I've been able to do to kind of destigmatize that and hopefully help other people feel confident in re-wearing clothing, buying secondhand, being seen in things multiple times, being an outfit repeater, all of those different
Mhm.
things that maybe people wouldn't feel comfortable doing otherwise, and especially young women making sure that they know that it's not a bad thing to buy secondhand or that it's not gross or that it's not weird to buy stuff from a thrift store, and that it's cool and that it's fun and that you can find things you wouldn't find otherwise. And, that there are all these benefits that maybe people don't necessarily know about in addition to it being sustainable.
Yeah, and with like we wearing clothes, there's seriously nothing wrong with wearing clothes. I literally rewear things that I probably have wear like 2 or 3 times a week. Like I'm
You?
so serious. And
Me
like
too.
with like working like buying clothes from a thrift store or even being a Miss America, like with buying those clothes, like I know a meteorologist that works for a local news station here really buys everything from the thrift store. It's
Yep.
the word always I don't know what's wrong with that word, but it's always kills me. But with like buying stuff from the thrift store, like there's nothing wrong with it. Like of course you're helping people like that didn't want maybe didn't want to wear those clothes, but you're getting it for a cheaper price.
Yep.
And probably most stores are probably making it more expensive than they're probably doing it. And so, like, what are some fashion sustainability brands that people are kind of wanted to look for some of the brands that are sustainability based?
Yeah, so my best recommendation is there's actually an app. It's called Good On You, and you can download it. It's an iPhone app. I believe they have it for Android as well. You can download Good On You, and it's actually a directory of stores. And so you can search, I like this brand. How do they rank in terms of environmental advocacy, animal rights, garment workers? How do they treat their workers, labor laws? So you can look and you can see how brands are doing. So if you have a brand that you love and you want to look it up, that's a great way to see, where they stand. They rank them basically 1 to 5. So 5 is they're a great brand, 1 is maybe not so much. And I would recommend doing that to find brands. But some that I love that I can recommend are Girlfriend Collective. If you're someone who's interested in athletic attire, athleisure, there's sort of like a modern minimalist athleisure brand. So Girlfriend Collective is incredible. I definitely recommend them. There's a brand called Mate the Label. I love Mate the Label. They create a lot of different sort of casual wear clothing as well, t-shirts, casual single pieces, kind of mix those things into your wardrobe. I love their clothing. But like I said, I mean, fortunately, there are a lot of brands that are sustainable, but I definitely recommend looking at that list because you can curate brands that are good for you. And that's always really nice. And they actually have recommendations. So say you like a brand, they don't rate so well, they recommend other brands that are similar, that have similar quality products that you could buy from that are sustainable. So it's really cool. It gives you a lot of different resources. And then, of course, renting, I always think is a great option. Rent the Runway, Fashion Pass are great options for people who'd be interested in renting. That makes sure you have a lot of different options, very trendy, but also very affordable and sustainable as well.
Ooh, I didn't know that. I have to check those sites out. That seems right up my alley. You literally like have educated me about fashion then like the first in a long time. So I'm really go check these out after the interview. But if people are interested in becoming part of pageants in some way, what is some advice?
Ooh. So if you're first starting, like very beginning, you haven't competed before, my best advice is to reach out to people who have. I genuinely would not be here if I hadn't gotten close with the women who came before me and asked them questions, gotten advice from them. You can ask literally any existing title holder any question. You might think it's like the tiniest, weirdest question. We want to help. We had those questions at one point too. And I think that that's probably my most valuable, really tangible advice to someone first getting started. And then once you're in, if you're in the early stages of competing and it's your goal to be on the Miss America stage, it's your goal to be a state title holder, my best advice is to do the job before they give it to you. When I go into interview, I never want to say things like, oh, if you picked me, I would do this, or like, I would start doing this. I always go into interviews saying, I've already done this. I will continue to do this. I've already established the foundation. All you have to do is put the sash across my chest, the crown of my head, and I'm going to work. I'm ready to go. And so I think that's my best advice is when you go into interview, go into the competition with this mindset of they don't have to wonder if I can do this job because I've proven I have. It also gives you this really strong sense of confidence because you're like, it's okay if they don't pick me because I've already done such great work. I've already had an impact. I don't need a title in order to be a part of positive change. But if I'm given the opportunity and I'm given the title, I'm prepared for it and I can use it as a vessel and a platform to even do more and to even have more of an impact. So those would be my pieces of advice. Don't be afraid to ask questions to people before you. We love answering questions. We love hearing from people. We love giving advice. And once you're started, prep for
Love it. Like that is honestly some great advice. Like, there's someone who absolutely loves watching pageants and all these things. So that's some great advice. I'll definitely look into if I'm interested in pageants. FYI, I might. So I'll definitely be taking up
Yeah,
on asking you a bunch of questions in probably next couple of months, hopefully. Who knows? But
me
I
too.
really appreciate you, Amanda, for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you just come back from Miss America, so I really appreciate all the hard work and everything you're doing, and everything you're doing is absolutely amazing. And if you need any help at all, just feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to help you in any way.
Thank you so much. And yes, we'd absolutely love to have you. So please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. And if anyone's listening to this and has ever been interested in being a part of Miss America, Miss Pennsylvania, you have my contact information now. The DMs are always open. I would love to talk to people. We would love to have more young women as a part of the program. So
For sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone go reach out to Miranda if you have any questions, but everyone make sure to subscribe and like and feel free to reach out if you guys have any questions. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your day. And thank you so much, Miranda, again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.